we're running a second later than I told you, but we're here. Jen and I are here today to talk batting. And we've been meaning to have this conversation for quite a while, because as long armors we get lots and lots and lots of questions about batting.
Right.
So we're going to talk about a couple, well, we're going to reference our favorite brands a lot today.
Right.
And they're our favorites because after having used every brand of batting,
a few hundred quilts,
we have preferences, and they're fairly strong.
Right. But, and not all batting's the same. So,
no, it's not. So we're going to talk today about, and our different kinds of batting. It's not just the brand, it's what it's made with.
Right.
So we want to go through a couple things. We sell two primary brands in our shop. The first is Quilters Dream, which is a quilt shop only brand. It is also a made in the USA brand, if that's terribly important to you. That's a selling point.
And it's awesome.
And it's fantastic. And the second brand we carry is Winline. We'll get into it in a minute. It's a bamboo brand, which is very cool.
It's definitely high end.
It's a high end batting. It is not a cheap batting,
but it's also awesome.
So we're going to talk. So Quilters Dream.
If you ever come into the shop, guys, we have this handy dandy little book up front. It'll give you samples of all of them. So if you're ever here and you're like, what are these? Just ask to see the Quilters Dream book.
We also have all over our shop, all of our samples. We've labeled most of them with what battings are in them. So if you ever want to know what something feels like,
you'll see a label like this.
You'll see a label like this, and it will tell you what kind of batting is in the quilt. And it just helps, because then you can feel the weight of it and feel...
Right, how does a quilt up?
With 2 layers of fabric on the other side.
Right.
Okay, so...
Let's start.
So this is a Quilters Dream cotton. This is their select weight. It's slightly thinner than your Warm and Natural, but it doesn't have the scrim.
No scrim. It's got a nice drape to it as far as cottons go. Now we also will carry this in a request weight from time to time, which is very thin. So if you're like, I want a really thin quilt, the request weight's really good.
Super thin.
But it also comes in a deluxe weight, whight is heavier.
Which I'm going to show you in a quilt, and it's fantastic.
We can also special order, I don't keep it in stock, but I'll order it for you, what they call a weighty.
Which is a really heavy cotton.
Very thick. So
if you need a weighted blanket.
Or if you're the type that likes to double bat, it's actually less expensive just to go with the weight. The weighty option. Weighty. Now, here's a question I get all the time, and I love to shock people with the answer here. Does batting have a right and a wrong side?
Yes.
It has an up and a down. Can you believe it?
It has an up and down.
So
dimples and pimples.
Dimples and pimples. That's a good way. It's needle punched.
Yes.
That's what it is. Now, not all battings are like that when we get into wool and polyester.
But our cotton battings,
cotton and usually 80/20s and
have
bamboo.
A right and a wrong side.
So dimples go up, pimples go down.
Yes. Although if it
usually doesn't make that big of a difference for really good batting. If your batting's not super tightly woven,
it does make a difference.
It can make a bigger difference.
Because we poke our needle in from the top of the fabric when we're quilting.
Right.
And not because it will somehow behave differently with the back of your quilt. It's for the quilting process.
Right.
It behaves better. The next one she's going to show you, this is the most common batting we sell. This is an 80/20. If you don't know what 80/20 means, it's 80% cotton, 20% polyester. I know that's a dirty word. It's not a dirty word. The difference between 100% cotton and that 80/20 is this is cheaper. And have you ever had a quilt and you folded it up and then you unfolded it and those stupid crease lines will never go away? Come out?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? 20% of polyester makes that go away.
Problem.
It's got a better drape to it.
I love the 80/20. It has a bit of a softer drape to it. It's not quite as stiff as the 100% cotton. It's also, like she said, it's a really economical batting to buy. Now, not all 80/20 is created equal. We did a class this last weekend, and I grabbed a couple of gals some 80/20 batting for their minky strip quilts, and they couldn't believe it was 80/20 because, I mean, I know. I've worked with some 80/20s that are pretty
not fantastic.
So this is a very nice, soft,
this is a high
80/20.
Okay, this is a quilt shop quality brand of batting. Yeah. So that is something to keep your mindset on. And that's not to disparage all of the brands that are sold in department stores, but
no,
this is a high quality bag.
But don't think that means it's double the price.
It's not.
It's not. Okay, so that's 80/20.
This is white.
White.
Our cotton and our 80/20 both come in a white. And that might sound a little ridiculous because this is slightly off-white. But if you have a quilt top that is primarily
really white,
a bright white fabric, the white batting will make a difference. Especially if you're using a batting that has any sort of scrim in it. You don't want that with a white back
or
with
those
a white
like
top because
natural flex
things will show up
in there. We don't want it.
And so our 80/20s and our cottons we can get in white. So if you've got a white top.
And really,
now this one that's got like the white sashings in it, clearly not an issue.
Right.
But I'm just saying, if your quilt is primarily white,
I mean, I've done it for a couple of like my Thimble Blossoms one that used like a white background. It's a couple dollars more,
not
but
a whole lot.
Only a couple dollars more. So if you need white, you can go white.
You can go white.
Now speaking of colored batting, I don't have a sample here to show you, but I can in my book.
We have pink.
Well, there's pink, but
there's which is an 80/20. There's also black.
Black. If your quilt has a solid black background, you might want to go with the black batting. Why is this?
The reason we like to do that is because if you put a white batting in, light shows through. Light always shows through our quilts, right? So light can get through. And if there's the white batting, it can make your black look more gray than a true black. Mm-hmm. Now, if I've got a black batting in there, it is going to stay true black. And so, and it's okay with the color elements on it, by the way.
I have
the colors will still pop, but partially because the black is so black. The black stays very black. Now, black batting is polyester, okay? Fair warning.
It's going to be,
straight
but
up polyester.
Honestly, it's good
polyester.
The kind we sell, this is awesome stuff. It's very soft, and it's got a decent loft. It's somewhere between the Select and the Deluxe. It's got a good loft to it.
Yeah.
So I really like our black batting.
So that's colored. Now we're going to get into a couple of our different ones.
This is one of my two favorites.
Wool. This is our dream wool. This is a washable wool.
Right.
It has this great weave to it, you guys. Another sign of a great batting is that it doesn't tear easily.
Yeah.
Okay? It's got this great weave to it. It's got it's a little bit loftier. We're gonna show you some quilts that use these different battings in a minute. I know it's hard to see online, but then you can come to the shop and find them anyway. But this is a washable wool. Wool is very, very breathable. I know it sounds hot and itchy, but it's not. In fact, I brought a quilt today from my house that has a wool bat, and my husband and I have been using it on our couch all summer because it's amazing. It's like cool in the summer and warm in the winter.
The one I have on my bed right now is wool.
It breathes wonderfully.
Actually, the one I have on my bed was wool, and then I just swapped it out for one that's this.
This is Dream
Puff, which is a polyester, but puff.
Okay, so I'm putting...
this doesn't keep me that warm.
So, yeah. The puff doesn't breathe quite as well because it's a man-made fiber. This is 100% polyester. I am putting it on this quilt right here, and it's making for some gorgeous scenarios.
Honestly, it doesn't really get hot. Actually, it breathes better as a polyester, but it doesn't get hot. I mean, think about your athletic apparel.
That
wicks moisture away. It actually, the reason it doesn't get that warm is because it breathes better, but it doesn't really keep heat in. So if you're somebody who wants a puffy quilt but not to get very warm, this isn't a bad option. But I love the puff. It's got a nice loft. I just remember
super cute on like baby quilts.
Quilting with grandma. My grandma used to always use like the high loft polyester. Mm-hmm. So I think of quilting as puffy. So I do like the puff.
This is a very nice polyester though. This is not your grandma's polyester.
This is not my grandma's polyester.
And it, like I said, it's got a great weave to it. Once again, another sign, good batting. It's not tearing easily. I mean, if I pulled hard, it would, but I'm not.
But guys, I load quilts on that I have to. I mean, it's like with kid gloves because the batting just shreds.
And that doesn't happen here.
And that doesn't happen with that, so we love it.
The last one I'm going to show you, this is
my other favorite.
Our Windline 100% bamboo. This is not a cheap batting. This stuff is $25 a yard off the roll. But another thing, guys, this stuff really doesn't tear. I can pull this thing like crazy. Bamboo is nice and light. It is uber drapey and
super
silky.
drapey.
And so it is
doesn't
fantastic
get too hot.
for a cool, like I put it in my Exploding Heart quilt with a lawn back, and it is meant to be a summer quilt for me.
Right.
And it's great.
I did that with my candy striped one with the cotton sateen back, and it's just like, it's the perfect summer quilt.
Yeah.
But I love the wool now, or the
bamboo.
wool, bamboo. It's super soft. This is the standard
This
4
is
ounce.
out of Winline. They do make a 6 ounce.
And I have that in a finished quilt here that I'll show you, because this can be fairly flat, but I'm going to show you right now. This quilt I did out of the 6 ounce, and
it's definitely heavier.
And it's definitely heavier. It's still got a really, this is pretty well quilted. I quilted quite a bit. It was custom done. But you can see some puffiness to it. There's definitely...
Yes, it's got some loft to it.
That loft that comes through because the bamboo was a bit thicker. So this is the 6 ounce bamboo that I did in this one just because...
She wanted to.
I wanted to. Well, I needed to try it out.
Well, and she wanted her quilting to pop a little bit more.
I did.
Now, we're going to talk about this one for a sec. This is Jen's sheep quilt. The kit is sold out. I'm very sorry.
We have a bigger one that has sheep and chickens.
But the reason I want to talk about this, she used the 80-20 batting, you guys, and the Sherpa back. And I want to talk about batting right now in regards to minky.
Or flannel,
or
baby quilts.
Or denim. Or
so
all of the quilts that people are like, but do you really need batting?
We get asked all the time, but it's, if I use a minky back, do I need batting? And the answer is?
Absolutely.
Always.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you why. And usually when I give people the why, they're like, okay, that makes sense. But then there are always the people who are like, but I do it anyway. And I'm like, that's up to you.
Right.
Okay.
I won't do it, though.
Batting adds fluff, and that's great. But that's not its only purpose, okay? Our battings, any batting, when you put batting into a quilt, it is a structural element to that quilt.
Yes.
Okay? Our cotton's good. Our minky's good. You want something that's going to tie it together and hold it to keep it stronger. You want the batting. I reference it to people a lot of the times as like concrete versus concrete with rebar. Like, we all know, I mean, even if you're not in the world of construction, that when you put rebar in concrete, it is stronger and it will last longer. Same thing with batting. Especially with a minky, guys. I love minky. You guys know that we put minky backs on everything. Minky weave is quite as much looser than your cotton. And on top of that, the bulk of the minky is in the pile. You guys,
right.
It's not,
and that's the fluff, guys.
In the fluff. It's not in the actual weave of the fabric. And so when you put a minky back on a quilt, what you will still feel through the back is all your seam piles and all of those kind of things. Because minky isn't thick, it just has a heavy, depending on what kind of minky it is, a heavier pile. Mm-hmm. And so that batting is still, it's going to serve the same purpose as it would if you had a cotton back on it.
Well, and it also allows the minky to last longer. I mean,
the minky will last longer, your quilt will last longer.
If you just quilt minky, it's going to pull on it, it's going to tear. A lot of times when people tell me I've had a terrible time quilting minky, it's because they've left the batting out of it. Now, I understand. I want it soft. I want it drapey. It needs to be a baby quilt. Guys, this is Sherpa minky. It's not thick. It's not heavy.
And she put an 80-20 batting in it.
This is an 80-20 bat. I mean, it's crib size, so it's $10. And
it will extend the life of her quilt.
It just makes all the
by
difference.
A long shot.
So
my answer is always yes to batting. Even on a denim quilt, you guys, if it's just going to be used for a blanket on the ground, that thin layer of batting is going to extend the life of it. It just is. We can get you a request batting that's super thin, but it is a structural element to a quilt.
Yep.
So my answer is always yes. Sorry for anyone who that bothers, but
it is.
It is.
Now, I mean, if you want to do it on your own, that's fine. If you bring it to us to quilt,
I won't quilt without batting. Sorry.
Because yeah.
And my machine doesn't like it.
No.
Okay.
So this is an 80-20.
This is wool.
This is wool.
You guys might remember this
quilt. It's been used and washed, and
this is from my house. My Radiance quilt. And you guys, it is so cozy.
It is. I love the wool because it keeps its drapiness.
But my dahlias that are quilted into it can pop a little bit. They've got a little bit more body to them because of the loft of the wool.
Right.
But it's just so nice and drapey. You guys, I just love this.
And they're warm. Honestly, they're great for winter. Oh, this
like I said, it's been on my couch all summer.
But it works well for summer. Now this is
one we forgot to talk about.
We didn't tell you about. This is
another dream
product.
product.
This fabric's going to be here soon. Aren't we excited?
Yes. This is another Dream product. It's called Dream Orient. What this is a bamboo blend.
Bamboo, silk, and
cotton, I think.
Blend.
So it's not, it's less expensive than the 100% bamboo. But
it also has a really nice drape to it. It's got a softer drape to it than the 100% cotton.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all natural products. It's no polyester.
Yeah. So it kind of gives you that feel of that 80-20, but stays 100% natural.
Yep. So that's the Dream Orient. And yeah,
that's
actually, the specific reason I used that for this quilt is so that we'd have a sample in the shop.
That's the Dream Orient.
All right.
Next up, this is the Deluxe, you guys. If you guys have been into the shop, I should have you pick up this quilt. It's heavy. So this is our heavier weight cotton. So you can see the quilting pop a little bit more than in a regular cotton quilt. But that's because it's the Deluxe cotton. It's a thicker cotton. And this is meant to be a fall quilt, so heavy is the way to go.
The way to go on it.
And because I didn't put a minky back on it, I wanted it to be 100% cotton, so the whole thing would be 100% cotton, because I was being a snob that day, which is fine. You're allowed.
It's your quilt. Be a snobby or a non-snobby.
But I think that it helps the quilting pop on the back a little bit more, and it's just a little bit weightier. And so I like the Deluxe. I like a thicker batting.
Actually, I put the Deluxe on our shop sample of Nature's Lodge because it's a king-size quilt, therefore it goes on a bed, because we don't just throw king-size quilts.
Yeah.
And personally,
I
love
quilt.
weight on me when I sleep. I rest better that way. So I figure, I know other people are that way too, and so a weightier quilt to sleep is really nice. So that was a way to add weight to it.
Okay, and last
but not least,
a puff. We wanted this extra puffy, so we took our awesome kid quilt, right, with our little red fabric, put our Dream Puff in there to make it nice and thick, and I put a super heavy minky on the back.
But I mean, it's thin. It's really but
once again, like if you come in and play with the minky, I want you to open it up and look at the back of it where you can see the actual weave, and what you'll find out is that it's not as thick.
It's
necessarily
actually really
as you thought
thin.
it was.
But this
has a puffy batting, a minky back, a llama minky back even, and
the puffs are really popular, especially for little kid quilts. Sometimes, but also adults. A lot of adults love their puff.
So this is for an adult.
This is for an adult. Actually, I'm going to pull a few things off this long arm that we piled up to show you this quilt. This is a customer's quilt. And I love it because it's a blend of all the things people tell you can't blend. Our back here is a batik. Our batting here is puff. And our top is 100% cotton. Batik is also cotton. But this is
But people like to think you can't
cotton.
mix those two weaves, and you can.
And I kind of love that it's all mixed together here.
And it's turning out beautiful.
It's turning out really cute.
The giant flowers and swirls are going to be nice and puffy, and it just adds that extra depth of.
Yeah. And usually, if I do use a puff batting, I don't want my quilting super dense because I've done it before, and I'll tell you why. Because it kind of defeats the point of the puff. It stops being so puffy when you.
Well, I don't know about that because you need to show them the cobblestone one.
Pull it over. Well, that's not puff. That's wool.
It's wool, so it's a puffy bat. I'm going to show you guys. I don't know if you can see this. I hope you can. This is my Cobblestone's Christmas quilt, and I am a dense quilter. That's no secret. And I quilted this really dense, and what it ends up with is a super textured quilt. Yeah. So you got the loft from the wool, and the close quilting, and it just ends up with the geometric pattern. And what I have is just super texture happening here, and I think that's fabulous.
It is really cool.
So
no, I was just thinking my beanstalk one. I used puff, and it's not as
it's less effective.
The wool definitely holds its puffiness better than the polyester.
Yes. So anyway, I hope that answers a few questions that you may have had.
We're gonna introduce Jensen.
Oh,
I'll go get it.
Jen's gonna go get a block because we need to show you something real fast, and then I'm gonna clean up my batting mess that I made over here. But yeah, so we've got a new block of the month starting in December. Jen?
I don't know.
It's December or January. Okay. December, or January. I'll let you know when I find out.
We got new Halloween fabric.
We got new Halloween fabric yesterday, of all days. This is the center block. I'll move here. Of our new fantasy block of the month. This is from Timeless Treasures and A Wing and a Prayer. I know that's a huge shocker. It's a king size quilt, as always, from those ladies.
It'll be 102 inches square.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm loving the blues and the purples.
Yes.
And the dragonflies.
December. And it starts December, and it's $22 a month, I believe.
Yeah.
So reserve your spot. It's going to be awesome.
Yep. I got to finish making this one and then quilt it up.
Yep. So Jen's finishing up our shop sample at home.
Yep.
And we have another block of the month coming early next year that's going to be super exciting that we just signed up for yesterday that I can't wait to tell you guys about.
Yeah.
Soon. Or Tuesday. I don't know. I've lost all track of what
Tuesday.
days.
We signed up on Tuesday.
I know, Chris. Those are totally your colors. That's what I thought when we ordered it, actually.
It was like, Chris can't pass this one up.
Nope. Anyway, but thanks for joining us, guys. If you have any batting questions, shoot us a message, and we will always try and answer.
Stop in the shop. You're welcome. We keep little samples around so you can feel it. We'll tell you what's on the wall. Like I said, we try and keep them labeled so that you can see what they are
and feel them in an actual quilt.
Right.
So anyway, have a good rest of your day, folks, and we will see you
next time.
Bye, guys.